And each angel has a trumpet in his hand, magnificent, beautiful golden trumpet in his hand. And they raise them to their mouths. And they begin to play. Oh, my Lord, you wouldn't even dare to compare it with any music you've ever heard. When you hear it, you realize that the greatest symphony of Beethoven was nothing more than a shadowy, paltry reflection of the real thing called music. This is the real thing, and it's not Pepsi-Cola either. And everything that you've ever heard was just an image, just a mirror. Why, what you're hearing now, why, this is the distilled quintessential music, the very essence of perfection. It penetrates. It penetrates every fiber of your being. There's some quality about it you can't describe. It's indescribable. The only phrase that rings in your mind is, why, this is the music of the spheres without the distortion of passing time. It's as if every note is perfectly suspended in a liquid state of perfection. It penetrates. Every cell of your body is just moving, vibrant with the music of heaven. You're alive with it. Behind these awe-inspiring angels, coming up this avenue, there's an angelic choir. Legion upon legion, wave upon wave of these giant creatures of God, and they're singing. But you hesitate to call it anything as trite as singing. Why, they don't even sing words. No language that you know any alphabet for. But suddenly, it penetrates and you understand what they're singing. And you find yourself singing in perfect unison with them in some heavenly language that you've never uttered before. Somehow, without hesitation, you know exactly what's being sung. Worthy is the Lamb. Worthy is the Lamb that was slain. The rivers of praise and adoration, can you imagine the rivers of praise and adoration from the lips of thousands multiplied by thousands fills the air, and it's an electric praise that hangs and fills the air like the smoke of a sweet perfume. It's thick. You've never been in the presence of anything like this before in your life. And then as those angels move past your view, there come the glorified saints of God. Why, it's a hero's parade. They don't wear name tags, but somehow you know them. You recognize them. The air is filled with such revelation that you know persons and things you have never known in all of your life. Why, you know each face the very moment you look. There they are. Why, there come the Old Testament saints. Elijah, Isaiah, Abraham. That's Abraham. There's Ezekiel. There's Jeremiah. There's not a note or a hint of pride in their faces. No arrogance or presumption. They're captivating you, but there's no jealousy, no strife exists in your heart. And as they march by, you find it's perfectly acceptable that they're there, and somehow because they're there, you feel that you're right where you are in their company. There's a new sense on your part of belonging to an eternal plan where God has united you together with the believers through the ages. And somehow you know that Abraham's your brother. Somehow you know that Jeremiah is your brother. Now here come the New Testament saints. There goes Peter. There's James, John the Revelator, the Virgin Mary. There's Mary Magdalene. There's Paul the Apostle. He's a little old bald-headed, bandy-legged fella. And you say to yourself, I never thought he'd look like Hardy Brundage without hair. And you look on his face and there's such radiance. the expression of the things that he wrote so brilliantly. Laughter in his eyes and delight on his face. You remember that it was said of Paul that if he had entered heaven backwards, the angels would have recognized him by the stripes on his back. And yet his face, it's radiant with an exquisite joy. And after the parade of saints come thousands that you don't even know. You realize these are the unnamed, the unsung saints of God. Somehow you feel strengthened, empowered by the fact that these who are like yourself, they've made it. And occasionally there in that sea of faces, you see one that you can recognize from this life on earth. You're stunned. Not historical heroes, but look, there's your grandmother who prayed for you on her knees every day till her death. She prayed for your conversion, prayed for your salvation, prayed for your sanctification and your perfect entry into the family of God. There's your preacher. That's good news to me. Your Sunday school teacher. That's good news to some others. And there, look at there. There's that old guy who was always passing out tracts and telling people that Jesus was coming. And you say to yourself, my goodness, he was bigger on God's list than I thought. And as he passes you, it's as if he recognizes you and he winks in a way that communicates, and you realize that all of your criticism about him that you never thought he knew about, he's looking at you and he's winking and it's forgiven. And there are thousands more laughing, singing, praising God, waving to the people as they go by. Why, it's the most magnificent parade you've ever seen in your life. Suddenly, silence. Just like that. The silence, it's so thick, you can almost reach out and touch it. It's as if the whole universe is taking a collective breath, waiting on this event. And then a whisper comes. At first, gently moving back over the crowd, and then like a rising wave and erupting crescendo, he's coming. He's coming. The King is coming. And it becomes the assembled praises of the multitude and the thousands as they shout, he's coming. With one startling blast of the trumpets of the angels, in through the wide gates at the end of that boulevard, astride a stallion with a name written on his thigh that no man knows. And it's Jesus, the Lamb of God, the Son of the living God. And he's just entered that boulevard. There he comes. And as he rides in through the gates, you're being filled with adrenaline that literally just shoots through your body. And it's almost, there's an immeasurable joy. You've never experienced anything like this. The angels are singing. The trumpets are playing. The hosts are praising. The saints of God are rejoicing. It's music, it's praise, it's worship, it's communion and fellowship and the presence of Jesus all at once. Jesus marches forward on that horse.